Beginning of this year, I had a team of 7. Now it is November 4th, 2025, and I have a team of 40 plus employees, all full-time. And by 2026, we're planning on having a team of 50 plus employees. And so to go from 7 employees, very tight-knit group, to 40 and even 50 in the future employees is ludicrous. And the point of me filming this video is we almost imploded quite a few times, because to go from 7 to 40, 50 is nuts. And during this process, I've hired 6 recruiting agencies. I've acquired 2 agencies. I have a guy whose literal only job is to conduct interviews every Tuesday and Thursday with potential candidates. And I just want to share with you what I've learned so you don't make the same mistakes if you're experiencing this explosive growth. Now that we're in November, we finally have our shit together, and I feel okay in filming this video, and I feel okay with where we are, and I know that we've built this base that is built for scalability. And this is where most people fuck up, is they don't take into effect the margins, they don't have any scaling systems, and before you start scaling your team, you need to make sure you have a plan. And first thing you need to have under that plan is your margins, your acquisition, your delivery dialed. And so Figma time, I'm gonna make myself a little smaller here. We have acquisition and we have delivery. So I'm going to talk about acquisition first. And this is arguably the most important step. This is what's going to fuel your growth. If you don't have acquisition dialed, there's no point in scaling. You need to have people that want your service, and you need to have it at scale. So then you can create a plan. So right now, just to give you numbers, we're booking around 100 calls with ads and 80 calls with cold email. Now, this is monthly. And so we can assume that we're booking around 180 calls a month. Sometimes that's at 220. Sometimes it's a little bit less. But around that 180 calls, we can assume that we're going to book around 100 qualified calls a month. And you may be thinking, Jordan, you should be booking more qualified calls. I agree with you. It is what it is. We're doing our best. We're trying to get the most qualified calls possible, but this is where we're currently at. And so if we have a 20% closing rate of 100 qualified calls, then we can assume we're going to be signing 15 to 20 clients a month, which is super, super cool. And our churn rate right now is about 8 to 12%. That could absolutely be better, and we're working on it. But again, I'm just giving you rough numbers of what we have built so far so we can predictably scale while also ironing out the kinks internally. And so if this is predictable, then we need to hire 2 account managers a month. And just so you can see the delivery side of things, 1 account manager, and by the way, these account managers need to have at least $5 million of ad spend behind their belt. They need to have worked with similar industries or niches. Our primary audience is e-commerce owners and e-commerce brands that are doing over $30K a month minimum. And each account manager can handle 10 clients, which equates to 20 clients. And so if we're signing 15 to 20 clients a month, again, predictably, then we need to hire 2 account managers every single month. And that's why I mentioned in the intro, we have a guy conducting interviews every single Tuesday and Thursday. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail here pretty soon. But how we can make this math is if we hire 1 account manager, we're negative. If they work with 1 client or 0 clients, obviously that's full-time employee that we're hiring. And so there's a fixed cost, there's their salary, which we pay above market salary, very proud of, but we're not profitable until we hit 3 clients. In fact, we're only at break even if we hire 2 clients. We're not making any money. We're not losing any money, but that's no way to grow a business. But if we can get to 3 clients or more, then we're profitable. And so again, this is why acquisition is so important, is if you can assume, backed by data, and predictably assume that you're going to be signing 15 to 20 clients a month, then you can go under the guise like, okay, I'm going to hire this person full time. I'm going to be negative for the first 2 clients that they sign with, but after 3 clients, I'm going to be profitable. And then once we get them to 10 clients, we're extremely profitable. And this ends up really, really starting to math for us. And while we were scaling, something that screwed us up is we hired way too many account managers way too fast. We had acquisition good. It wasn't great. We didn't have acquisition absolutely dialed. And so now we do, and we can predictably assume how many employees, full-time employees, we need to be hiring on a month-over-month basis. Okay, so with the hiring funnel and hiring new acquisition, you need to treat hiring somebody just like you would treat sales. I want you to get off your high horse in regards to, wow, I have such a great company, I have such a great agency, everybody would want to work for me. No, they don't. They don't care. Nobody cares about my company, right? It's just the world we live in. It's the truth. And if you want to do a fun experiment, go on Upwork, not as somebody who posts jobs, but somebody who applies to jobs. I believe it's free for you to create an account, and look at some of the job posts these agency owners are posting. It's just gross. It's like, we'll only pay you per success. We'll give you $500 the first 2 weeks, and if you can't deliver, then I'll need the $500 refunded, or you must have experience working in this particular industry or do not apply. And it's like, that looks like a horrible company to work with. You need to treat hiring, because you want A players, and you need to treat an A player who's looking for a new job just like you would treat your ICB client. It's like, I know you would like working here. I have to convince you to work here. I know we can get you great results if you're a client. I need to convince you that I can get you great results. It's the exact same game. And comparing May employee churn to November employee churn, it's pretty much at zero, because we treat our employees extremely well. I can't stress enough, like you just as much as you calculate client churn, you need to be calculating your employee churn as well. They go hand in hand. You're always prospecting. You're always treating your employees like you could lose them at any time. Obviously, they have jobs to do, and if they're not doing their job, then I'll talk about that later. But anyway, to go into the hiring funnel, what I want you to do is film a VSL, and this VSL is going to be exactly how you would want a client to see a VSL. And this is what I did. Have your employees talk about how awesome it is to work here, and just interview them and be like, hey man, is it cool if I record this? Or hey, if it's a woman, hey, is it cool if I record this? You don't have to say, hey man, but get them to be genuine and say like, hey, I want you to describe your experience working here. If you don't like working here, tell me. If you do like working here, tell me. I'm going to be recording this call. I want you to be as raw and real as possible, because we're trying to bring more people on, and I want them to get a real understanding of what it's like to work here. And so our VSL is literally just a highlight reel of our employees saying how much they like working here, because somebody who's an A player is going to see that and be like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a VSL that is trying to get me to work here at this specific company. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm wording that correctly. But the top of the funnel, just to get into things, is we have recruiting agencies, we have LinkedIn job posts, we have Upwork job posts, and then I have referrals and poaching in bold, because these are the most potent. If you have an A player on your team and you're scaling and you're looking to hire somebody else, ask them if they have any referrals. If they're a solid media buyer or whatever your industry is, they're probably in groups, they're probably in Slack channels, they're probably in Discords, school, whatever it is, with other all-stars. Before they were working with you, they were building their network, or they were working with another company that maybe said like, oh, this other guy, John, who I worked with, didn't really like the owner of his old company. Let me reach out to him and see if he wants to work here. Referrals are going to be the best talent that you get, because they're already vetted. And then the other best is poaching, where you can look at, and this is kind of gray area, but it's the game. It's the game. Look at some of your big competitors out there. Look at some of the ones that are actually vocal about what they're doing. And so the ones that are posting on social media, the ones that are posting on LinkedIn, and just say, hey, I would love to have you on the team. I'm not trying to pressure you to quit your job if you like working where you're at, but I'd love to hear sort of what you're getting on a monthly basis. Once you get that number, because people want to make money, 9 times out of 10, they'll get back to you and they'll say, yeah, 100%, I'm making X. And if that makes sense with your margins, then you can be like, okay, cool. I'll pay you X, but I'll also give you an extra $1,000 a month. A lot of times they'll come over to you. And this goes back into calculating your margins and making it math. So if we have to spend a little bit more to get an A player, it's just going to make your life so much easier. And so instead of it being 2 clients for you to be break even, it's now 3 clients or 4 clients. Again, $1,000 is an example. It could be whatever you want. I don't know what you're charging. But if it takes you 3 clients to be break even, then you're still going to be extremely profitable if you have 10 clients. Your margins are going to get hit a little bit, but your LTV is going to skyrocket because you're bringing on somebody who actually knows their shit. That's top of the funnel. You could also run ads. I know LinkedIn ads are very, very good, but you want to direct everybody to the VSL. Other than referrals and poaching. Poaching, you can, but you want to be a little bit more personal with those outreaches. But for recruiting agencies, LinkedIn, Upwork, you want to direct them all to the VSL that you created. Again, you want talent who actually want to work here. Okay, for middle of the funnel, again, that's the VSL. So top of the funnel goes straight to the VSL. In the form, so this is what the landing page has. It has the VSL of why you should work here, why you would want to work here. It's awesome to work here, and we would love to have you here. Then there's a form with only 5 questions because you want to make it as easy as possible. You don't want to do a tremendous amount of vetting. And I'll tell you about the great filter, the Loom, here pretty soon. But you want their first name, you want their email, you want how much have you spent on ads, you want can you drop some applicable brands that you've worked with, and then can you film a Loom going over the questions above and introducing yourself. And why the Loom is so important is because, number one, you get to see them take initiative. Filming Looms isn't the most fun thing to do, but if you can find somebody who goes above and beyond and is willing to film a Loom, then number one, that shows initiative. And number two, you can see how they communicate because the person we're hiring is going to be client facing. And I want to ensure that they know how to communicate. And if they have like some super thick accent or their English isn't very well spoken, then they're probably not going to be a good fit no matter how much they've spent. It's just the truth. And so if you can get them to film a Loom, it's almost like a pre-interview before actually interviewing them. And so I can't stress enough, have them film a Loom, have them film a video of themselves, introducing who they are, going over the questions, showing some applicable case studies, and it's just going to make your life a whole lot easier. And then if everything checks out, then you have the bottom of the funnel. And this is where you interview them, you go over expectations, the salary. Are they not a fit? Then sorry, on to the next. And if they are a fit, then let's close them right there. Like, here's the salary, here's where you're starting, here's the KPIs you need to hit if you want to hit a bonus. Let's get this thing going. Super, super simple. Doing this at volume is not necessarily that hard. If you are doing LinkedIn, Upwork, recruiting agencies, you're running ads. I'm just going to add ads right here. And this could be LinkedIn ads, this could be Meta ads, this could be whatever. LinkedIn ads are probably going to be the most applicable. They're a little bit expensive, but if you're scaling at a very extremely fast rate, then it's something to consider. So finding and keeping A players. This is one, let's just assume you have acquisition down. Finding A players is a problem that will never go away. It's the problem every business wants to solve. Finding A players is so hard, so difficult, but if you can acquire and fire these employees at a fast rate so you can shift through the bullshit, you just have a higher chance. You have more swings, you have more shots on goal than the average person that's just hopefully finding an A player on Upwork. So let's say you do hire somebody, you assume they're going to be an A player. You're going to know within 2 weeks if you found an A player. You don't need 90 days. It's pretty obvious pretty fast. And A players are going to own their outcomes. They're not going to wait for permission. Obviously, hopefully you have everything SOP'd. You have a clear understanding of what this job role entails. And it's basically like, here you go. Here are the steps. Go get them. And the go get them part is where you're going to see if they're an A player or not, because they're going to move fast. They're going to find solutions. They're going to make your life easier. They're going to make you more money. They're going to save you time, usually both. And if you're still having to manage this person after 2 weeks, they're probably not an A player. They're probably not a good fit. And I want to be super, super clear. I'm not saying you're hired, I'll never talk to you again. Like, that's why you have SOPs. That's why you have meetings. That's why you have Slack or whatever your communication channel is. You want to keep talking to this person. They're going to have questions and you want to get back to them fast. But they're like, hey, I built this thing and I wanted to get your opinion on it. Or, hey, I've already called all 40 of these leads. Do you have any tips or do you have any applicable case studies for me? Those are the kind of questions you want to be answering, right? It's not like, how do I dial? Or how do I run this type of campaign? It's like, why am I hiring you? You're here to make my life easier. You're here to take some work that I was doing previously so I can focus on higher leverage activities. And if you're consistently dragging me back into these lower leverage activities, then I can't grow the company at the rate that I want to. So you'll know, 2 weeks. Okay, once you find them, keep them. Don't let them go. Hold on to those guys. And this just means you paying them well, you giving them autonomy, and you're just creating upside where I'll talk to you about my CEO, but like my CEO and also my COO are probably going to hold equity in my company because they've earned it. They've kicked so much ass, and this helps me keep them because they understand that if they continue to grow the company and they continue to hit KPIs, that in the future, if I want to sell my agency, that they're going to get a pretty large piece of the pie when we sell. But again, going into this, A players want growth, they want trust, they want autonomy, and they want clarity. And if they can do what they do, you're basically hiring like a mini boss. You're basically hiring a mini entrepreneur. And it's so nice to just say, go get them, go do this thing, and they do it. and they improve of what you were telling them to go do. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm sure it does. Easier said than done to find these A players. But another thing you need to think about when you're hiring is that your culture is going to compound in regards to who you hire. It's going to compound positively or it's going to compound negatively. It's going to go up 10x or it's going to go down 10x. And if you hire a B player, then that's going to compound with B players. And one B player can kill momentum faster than 10 good hires can fix it. But if you have a team of A players, they're going to lift 10 people up and they're going to raise the standard for the entire company. It's almost an opportunity cost for you to accidentally hire a B player. And this is why we're so militant on our hiring process. Like, we have it super easy for you to apply, but on the interview process, like, we have questions that just showcase what kind of person they're going to be. And if they want to be sort of like a lazy, this is just my job, I just kind of want to work here and stay in my room and, media buy all day. And, I also play pickleball or golf or whatever, and I only want to work 4 hours a day. That's totally fine. You can be that person. There's nothing wrong with being that person. You're probably not a good fit for working at our company. And that's just the truth. Now, another perfect transition with me just saying that is you don't want to get caught in the sunken cost fallacy. And so think about this. You can only level somebody up one grade at a time. So if you're at a C+, you can get them to a B-. If they're at a B, you can get them to a B+. If they're at an A, you can get them to an A+. But you don't want to bring on like a B- player because you're only going to bring them up to a B. Or even if you hire a B player, you're still only going to get them to a B+. And that's, that's just time you have to invest in them. And this is like a 90-day investment for like a very, very small increment of increase. It's just not a good waste of your time. And so trying to turn a B- player into an A is just not a good use of what you're trying to build, of what you're trying to do. You can SOP every single workflow. You can say, this is what your job entails, and almost like tell them, like, be a robot, do everything this SOPs does. But that's not necessarily what you want. You want them to have autonomy, and you can SOP the entire workflow, but you can't SOP the person. And I know that sounds a little bit psychotic, but it's the truth. You need somebody who's a good person. You need somebody who has the personality of a hustler, of a go-getter, of somebody who wants to grow something with you. And again, you can't SOP this energy, initiative, or just emotional control. And emotional control is a little bit weird. If they're freaking out on client calls, get them out of there. But hopefully the interview process, you can see if they're emotionally controlled or not. Moving on. The almost last thing here is your people are your product. And again, I'm assuming you're in the service industry, but what you're selling here is to the prospect, this is who you're going to be working with. And I guarantee you on the sales call, whether it's you, your sales team, whoever, if they know that you have a team of freaking killers, of badasses, of murderers on your team, you're going to have a higher close rate. If you're trying to sell somebody on your service and you know you have a team of like B and C players, it just translates into closes because it's like, oh, well, I'm going to work with this person for maybe 3 months and then they'll leave. Like, that's just, it's going to affect everything. And that's just a perfect example of it affecting morale, company culture. If you have A players and you're like, oh my God, you're going to work with John, you're going to work with Jeff, you're going to work with Mark, you're going to work with Maria, like, oh, you're going to scale. You're going to have a great time. This person is going to crush it for you. That conviction comes out on the sales calls. And so ask yourself, are you confident that your team can deliver an amazing service? And can they deliver an amazing service without you? That's the whole game. And then last thing here is your recruiting is never going to end. If you hire a B player that you assume is going to be an A player, you need to hire fast, fire faster. Some people say hire slow, fire fast. Hire fast, fire faster. Like, it's just an at-bats game. It's just a more shots on goal game, and that's the truth. You need to get as many at-bats as you possibly can to see who's a winner and who's not. So this was a very general overview of what we're doing with our company. It's how we grew to a 40-plus person team. Obviously, there's way more in-depth stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But again, this is just a 30,000-foot overview. If you're scaling fast and you're like, oh my gosh, my team is drowning, we need to hire somebody, the hiring funnel is going to be the best. And then if you're scaling faster than you thought you would scale, then making it math is going to be the best, and understanding your acquisition and delivery is really going to help you. But this is, again, just to give you an overall view of the ecosystem of what we use to hire talent at scale. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you on the next one. Cheers.